Hey everybody, I'm Mileage Rider here, and in today's video, we're going to show you how we put back together the 1972 Yamaha RT1 360 Enduro. If you want to see if it goes back together, and if it starts, come on back. Welcome back everybody. So for this restoration, we did a frame-off restoration. We stripped the bike completely down, sanded down the whole frame, repainted everything, other than the tins. So the rear fender, the front fender, the oil tank, the gas tank, the headlight shroud, and the little brackets that hold it. My son decided he wanted to keep those all with original patina. So other than that, we went through every single other piece of this bike. Put in about 150 hours roughly, taking it apart, putting it back together. And the only thing we did not do is we did not crack the engine case. We did take apart, look at the magneto, look at all the solenoid. We looked at the oil pump, the throttle, took apart, cleaned, replaced the jets in the carburetor. Did all of that, but we did not actually pull the gears of the motor out or the piston because the motor was running just fine before we started the restoration. So we'll see if that's a bad thing or a good thing. New tires, polished the wheels, new chain, used the same grips because I couldn't find new grips, had to reuse the same cables because I couldn't find new cables, but we did lube and clean all of the cables. Original instrument cluster, ignition, changed all the headlight bulbs, the rear bulbs, the turn signals. So went through the whole bike. Now, in this video, it'll be much more condensed than the previous ones, looking at the number of views and the comments made from the other videos we've put out. People weren't that interested in seeing the step-by-step. So this will be like a time lapse where we'll give you the pictures of things that went together before and after, certain little videos here and there, and then the final product, and of course, will it start? So, let's show you what we did. So here's some before and after pictures of our wheels. Quite dirty, a huge sprocket on that rear wheel. We were able to free up everything, clean up all of this rust, re-grease everything, redo the bearings, clean everything up, and they polished up really, really nice, but that rear chain sprocket is just way too big. They must have wanted to do wheelies. So once we cleaned everything up, we replaced the existing sprocket with the correct size sprocket for the year of the bike. Quite a difference. We then got the painted frame up on the lift, rebuilt the front forks, started to put on the new rear suspension, the rear wheel, the brake, rolled it outside as a rolling chassis. Looks pretty good. So we went through the whole motor looking at compression, the rotor, the stator, the clutch, the oil pump, the throttle, cleaned and rebuilt the carb, put in all new gaskets, lubed all the cables, and then put her all back together. So here's the bike rolled out into the sunshine, before and after handlebars, and before and after we put all of the electrical system back on the bike. Now let me tell you a little bit about how it's been going. Okay, quick little update on the rebuild of the RT1 360. Today Justin came over and we got all of the electrical harness back in. We were able to attach all of our parts here, run all of our cables, put the battery box back in. I still have the wiring here sitting that will go to the fender when I put it back on and go to these new rear tail lights. Wiring here. And we had it go back on exactly the way that we took it off. Able to reattach our front brakes, our clutch, front brake lever. I still have to put the grips on for the throttle, and our tachometer and speedometer. Unfortunately, I made a boo-boo and I stripped this bolt and broke it inside. This is what holds the instrument cluster on, so I will need to drill that out and re-tap it and buy some new bolts, but I'll do that in the next couple days. She's looking like a bike again. So next job will be to put on the chain, the new chain, and then we will attach the clutch plate back on. We will attach the air breather, put the battery in, get the rear fender back on, the gas tank. We'll give her a start and see if she starts. So here's the bike with its brand new chain and sprockets. I also ended up having to do some repairs with wire mesh and JB weld to the clutch cover. I was unable to find a replacement, so we had to fix what we had. I think it turned out pretty good. Okay everybody, the bike is almost all back together. We have the electrics, we have the carburetor, the air box, the battery box, the rear fender with the new tail lights and signals hooked up. Now we're going to check before we go any further and hook up gas and everything to make sure we have a spark. So I'm going to get the lovely Vanna to hold my phone while I kick this to see if we have a spark. We're going to be looking right there. So hopefully that shows up in the video. We have spark, so we're ready to do the final assembly. Hey there everybody, I'm Aladrado here, and we are so close to being able to try and start this bike. So, let me just stand back a little bit, show you what she looks like. So we now have the oil tank on. We've got all new hoses running from the oil tank. Gas lines, hoses off of, the vent lines off of the carburetor, all brand new. We are ready to put oil into the oil tank. Then what we did is we took the cover off here, and this cover just sits like that. So we take that cover off, and underneath it shows us the oil pump. So also with the oil pump is the throttle. And you'll see as I twist the throttle. So there is an oil line that comes here that goes to the bottom of the oil tank. It comes this way in here, down here, delivers oil to the oil pump. It then comes out of the oil pump up this smaller line. This smaller line comes this way, going into this banjo bolt, which feeds oil into the cylinder. So you want to make sure you don't try and kick this while it's dry, because you could seize your motor. So we are going to put oil into the oil tank. We are then going to kick this between 100 and 1,000,000 times until we see oil coming out of this line. So I'm going to disconnect it here. When we see oil coming out of that line, we know that we're going to be able to put oil into the cylinder. So I'll put this line back onto this banjo bolt. I will then take the spark plug out, and I will put a couple of teaspoons of oil directly into the cylinder to make sure that it is not going to run dry. Then I can put the gas tank back on with a new gas line going from the pepcock to the top of the carburetor, and we will be ready to try and start this bad boy. We will be right back. Okay, so now we're going to kick until we see oil coming out of here. And we will be back. So after a whole bunch of kicking, you can see that we've started to get that oil coming up out that tube, getting ready to put her back onto the bottom of the cylinder. Okay, so we've been doing about 865,000 kicks. I disconnected this line to let gravity make sure there was oil coming down, then reattached it. And then we've been kicking, the oil's coming all the way up. to here. You need to kick with the throttle wide open in order to allow oil to go through the oil pump. So my son Chris has been giving me a hand, so he's going to kick a few more times till this oil comes through. And there we go, you can see the oil dripping out. Okay, that's good, Chris. All right, so now we're going to attach this to the nipple. And that's where our oil gets fed into the cylinder through that banjo nut. So we know we now have oil going into the cylinder. We're going to put a couple teaspoons more oil into the cylinder head, put the spark plug back on, put the gas tank on, and then we'll be able to start the bike. Okay everybody, High Mileage Rider here, and today is the day we have the bike reassembled. We will try and start it. So my mechanic Darren gave me a few good hints. Said put about 2 teaspoons of oil down the cylinder from the spark plug hole, put the spark plug back in, turn on the gas, and make sure to open the drain bolt on the carburetor to make sure that gas gets through the full carb with new gas. Close that drain bolt. Battery in. Let's see if she starts. Ooh. Oh.
Recording.
Okay, everybody. Here we are. The maiden voyage of the newly resurrected
1971 Yamaha RT1 360. We have a headlight, we have a brake light, we have speed, we have tachometer, we have high-low beams, but we don't have turn signals for some reason, so I'll have to figure that out as I'm taking her back in the shop. But in our restoration, we did obviously not wreck the bike because we are able to ride. And it looks like all the gears do work. Listen to that two-stroke motor. All the gears work. That's awesome. So we just got to figure out our little electrical gremlin to see why we don't have turn signals. I might have to replace some wire. Always freaks me out looking at this because it goes in miles per hour. Oops. Clutch first, Daryl. Clutch first. Alright. We don't have a plate on this bike, so we're just going to go around the block, head back home, and then we'll figure out why we don't have turn signals. But I just thought you guys would like to see that we did not do any damage to the bike by doing the full restoration. We kept the original, my son wanted to keep the original patina of the bike, so we did not paint the tins. So, until the next video, if you like these kind of videos, consider liking, subscribing to the channel, consider keeping up with the channel. Can't think, I'm so excited. Consider, just consider watching the channel. When you subscribe, YouTube will let you know if we have new videos coming out. Until then, keep your right hand cranked and the rubber side down.